Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel where we review anything and everything. And today we are getting into this Aquaneat Aquarium heater, 25 watt, small beta fish tank heater. This is gonna run you on Amazon, link's gonna be in the description down below, for like $657. Now, they had within the same brand, they had other ones that are a little larger and higher watts, like 50 watts and whatever the case is. So they definitely went up there. I just wanted something small to actually heat the tank that you see behind you, that's been in the background of many of my videos. So we're gonna get into this right now. And the reason why I purchased this was because the other day I was putting, and I'm gonna make I think I mentioned it before, one of my other videos of my beta videos, which there's a playlist. If you guys look on the channel for my playlist of all my beta stuff. And I had recently moved some of my plants from my smaller tank into the larger tank because there was a shortage of a certain type of plant. I have two types of plants that are normally in there. One of them died off, that's normally on the bottom. They are called jungle val, and the other plants that were doing well was the sword. I think it's a sword echidna, something like a sword something. So I'll just call it sword for short. I'm sorry, but the link's gonna be in the description for each of those plants in the description. We could purchase on Amazon. Here we have this here. So long story short, I'm gonna finish my point before I get into this. That the water was cold. The water is really cold to my touch when I had my arm submerged into the water to plant these plants. And I'm like, wow, that water is freezing. And I didn't realize that because it's room temperature, but we're in the winter time. And when we are in the air, to us, we don't notice how cold it is, but water gets very cold at like a cool temperature. So I think, like, you know, my home was about, say, even if it's like 65 degrees inside, water at that temperature is freezing. Like, it's like if you had to get in water, it just feels so cold. And I was like, wow, I was really surprised. Then I started doing some research. I'm like, what temperatures do beta fish normally in? And it says something around like 70 degrees to 80 degrees. Now, my fish that's in there, my main one, there's only one male in there right now currently, and he's doing fine. He's been in there like that for a while and he's fine. The problem is I recently bought a new fish, a female, to go with him, and I put her inside the tank. I don't see her anymore. She could be somewhere in there lingering around, but I don't see her anymore. And so after me putting the other plants in, the first thing that came to my mind is, what if it was just too cold for the fish? I mean, he could be alive somewhere that I just haven't seen. It could be hiding because you're swimming around perfectly fine. My point is, I don't want to make this a depressing video on my fish situation. I purchased the heater so I can get the water warmer, so that way I can buy more beta to kind of get this tank going in a direction that I wanted to go in. So I planted the extra plants. I am going to try to get some more females in there. I'm going to later try to get some type of maybe catfish or something like that. And so we want to start with getting the water warmer. Sorry for that whole long story bit. You could see this here, but I just wanted to get into that because of the fact that that's my motivation for purchasing this. So let me just slide this back in here real quick just to hold that, because I don't want it rubbing on anything. And then what this also comes with is one of those stickers for the temperature. So you could just slap this on there, which I guess is not a problem to have on your tank, but sometimes too, you don't want it to be in a place that is, you know, so make sure you put these things in a place that you're okay where they're at, rather than, you know, in a place that's going to disturb the view of it. So maybe I might put it like this at the very bottom, so that way it's not actually in the way of the sight of, you know, fish swim behind it. And then you have this right here to suction it onto the inside of the tank. And that should be pretty much it. And it should just be plug and play. So, okay, so I got a plug that's behind the fish tank, and you can see there that it's lit. And I can feel it warming up. Now, Will this heat up an entire 20-gallon tank? I don't know. But do I need it to be super boiling? No, because like I said, my Betta's been in this tank now for, it's probably going on now, to be honest with you. I probably had this fish now for, it's probably almost, I'm not gonna lie, it's probably maybe close, might be almost close to a year, maybe. And so, for the most part, the fish can be adapted to that. Now, it's not always been this cold, because in the summertime, this water is definitely not that cold because we had some really hot days. But this will definitely, especially for the winter time, be able to keep it pretty warm. It says electronic temperature control is what it says on there. Must simply submerge underwater. Always unplug if and wait for at least 10 minutes before you do aquarium maintenance. Okay, so it's very hot. It's getting very hot right now, actually. I can feel it. So it's definitely working. So I just wanted you guys to know that it works, and it's definitely working. And yeah. So I'm gonna set things up. I am going to probably take this here and put this upwards. There's no instructions that come with it. So I'm going to probably take this part away from the heating portion as far as the clamp goes and do it like that. So we're going to see what's up with that. Let me see. Is it warm here? So it's not warm here. So at least you know that. So I should be able to clamp that on like that. Maybe make it face away from the light so we know that the light is on. We're gonna do it like that. So what I'm gonna end up doing, you guys, is I'm going to pause the video. I'm gonna put this into the water. I'm gonna give it some time, and then I'm gonna come back after it warms up the water and then let you guys know how it's warming up the water. So it's gonna probably take at least overnight for me to make sure that the water gets to the point where I need it to get. But other than that, yes, it should be pretty good. So stay tuned, you guys, and we'll be right back. All right, everybody, we're back. And, you know, I have my lights off because this way you kind of see inside the tank a little bit easier. Not that there's really much to see. I actually put the heater in the back area of the tank there, furthest away from kind of where I know the fish normally are at, because I didn't want the heat being too intense in the area. So I did put my hand inside the water. It's considerably warmer. Keep in mind this 25 watt, considerably warmer. And I actually noticed a few changes in the water too, in terms of, so after the water warmed up, it looks like to me that there was a level of, excuse me, I don't want to say, almost like debris started kind of falling more, and where that was coming from was, normally in the colder water, if I put food in the tank and say the food didn't get eaten, I think that it would stay in its flaky form, my fish flakes. And I feel like once the water was warmed up now, things are processing faster. I think this is just an assumption of mine. So this kind of goes outside of the bounds of us just kind of reviewing the heater. The heater is working fine. It works great. It's the one issue that I did have with it though is that the suction cup didn't work. Now maybe it was, I don't know if there's issues with the internal of the glass, like being a little bit, maybe a certain level of algae building up. I did wipe in the area, but maybe it needs a deeper cleaning. I just kind of briefly wiped it with my finger. It wasn't sticking. But as far as just, it definitely feels like to me the warmth is making the tank feel more alive. I'm seeing, even though I put more snails in it recently, I definitely feel like there's just more going on. That's the vibe I got. Anyway, that's out of the context of the heat, just heating the tank. It is heating the tank. So the 20-gallon tank is warm to the touch on the glass. It's not warm on the glass, but it feels like room temperature, where before it felt cold, even though we're in room temperature. But as far as sticking my hand in the water, which I did, it is definitely a lot warmer in the water than it was before. Before, it literally felt like you running your faucet water on cold is what it felt like in the tank, even though the room temperature is not that cold. It's just that water tends to run colder at room temperature than, you know, the actual air. So, but for whatever reason, it felt way colder that time that I really put my hand in it. I don't know why, but it really felt way colder than what it was in the air. Where in winter it was definitely cold, but the heater has definitely taken care of that. And so it's definitely going to help me move forward with the projects that I'm trying to do in regards to get more betta fish that can breed together into the tank. I think that the warmth will make them a little more livelier because they are supposed to be in like considered more tropical fish, or at least warmer temperature, and they can survive in colder temperature if they're acclimated to that. But I do think that putting the other fish in here, not realizing how cold my water was, became an issue. Now, I put the temperature gauge on the bottom here because I put it on the line, and this is probably messes it up. So if you guys are in this space, I wouldn't recommend doing this, but I really didn't want to cover up any part of where I could see in the tank. I just love looking through my tank at whenever I have fish, even if I was put it on the side here. You guys can't see, it's a little off camera, but the side area, it would have, let me just turn that a little bit. Over here, if there would have been like a fish or anything I get, or a snail that would have hid behind that, for me, it would have kind of bothered me. So I did put it here, but I know this is not probably getting a proper reading. From my understanding, the way these works, there's supposed to be two different colors, like a high and a low. I am seeing, I think the low is the blue and the high is supposed to be like a yellow. And I'm not seeing the yellow on there, but I'm seeing the blue at 68 degrees. So it's gonna pick up some aspect of the temperature, and I do have it obviously going sideways, so that I'm sure is not the proper way to have it. I don't know if that affects the temperature, but let's see if you guys could see this here. You may, let me zoom in. You guys may or may not be able to see this, and I know it's hard because of the lighting, but right there you can see it's kind of a little bit a different color. Like I said, I don't want to put on my studio lights because I want you guys to be able to see inside the tank right now. So anyway, so that is the plan, you guys. Like I said, as far as what I'm going to be doing, but as far as the review goes of this item, and I rambled too long about my tank and less about the heater itself. The heater itself is doing great. Like I said, it's not sticking. I can't get it to stick, which is the part that sucks, but I just have the wire coming off. You guys can see here, that's where I have it, and right there. And yes, so that aspect's great. I think it's actually going to make the tank a lot more healthier that it's warmer, but I am going to do a little bit of, you know, cleaning and whatnot like that, using the toothbrush, scrape some of the stuff off, whatever the case is. Now, but as far as the heater goes, it's there, it's working. But my one thing, like I said, the suction cup is not working on it, so I just have it kind of with the top holding it in place. Yep. So I just want to show this also here that the light has turned green. So I had to look that up because it doesn't come with instructions in the box. But what that means is when it's red, it's heating. When it's green, it's on standby, because it means that it has like a kind of temperature gauge on it where it knows that this is the temperature of the water. Is supposed to hit about 78 degrees, and then it goes green as standby mode, and then it'll go back to like red or like an orangish kind of red when it's heating. So I hope that was helpful, you guys. And as always, like, share, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.